it's just a small part of it. I was going to mention to you guys, so we're always trying to give like little lessons to the kids and whatnot, but sometimes it's without parenting them. But it's a good point to have, especially on the mats and whatnot. Like we have our dojo etiquette that's up there, but it's worth saying once in a while. Big thing is always just having a consideration for your words. Like we strangle each other, we try and break each other's arms. So the level of trust that we have with each other is higher than most friend relationships or even family relationships. Like how many of your family members would you say, here's how you break my arm, and then I want you to try as hard as you can. I'm going to try not to let you break my arm, but if I tap, make sure you stop, right? Think about the level of trust that's involved in that. So we do feel quite comfortable like saying things to each other and everything else, and which you should. I am not a strong proponent of political correctness, but I am a strong proponent of being tactful, right? Having tact, which is essentially just having some consideration for your words, right? You may have absolutely no ill intent when you say that, hey man, like looks like you're balding, or hey man, like looks like you missed class for a bit, or whatever the case may be. But you should always have that voice in the back of your head that just says, before you say something, just think how that may affect somebody else. It's empathy, right? You don't have to feel bad for people. You don't have to be, thinking too much about what you can and cannot say. It's just how do my words have an effect on somebody else, right? And if you practice that on the mats, you should never have any issues, right? Like even if it's sometimes you even see guys that are either heavier or strong, and you'll be like, oh man, you're so strong, oh you're just so heavy, and you say that enough, even though you're complimenting an attribute, eventually it starts to get annoying. It's like, man, I'm more than just being heavy and strong. I'm working on my technique. I'm doing this, and so on and so forth, right? So, anyways, little lesson. Cool.
Yes.
All right, guys. So S mount is the only mount with the instructors have a theme song for it. Never heard it before. I'm not gonna sing it. Not on camera. So the S mount, guys, just a step further than the technical mount. But as I was mentioning, we are going to kind of set this up we can set it up if the person's flat. It takes a little bit more work. It is a highly offensive position, which means that you may feel a little bit unstable in the position, but the nice thing is we're so far off the hips, we're not affected too much by his legs and by his now, we're going to look at this in two ways. Okay? We can base this off of how we just finished with the technical mount. So I push, he rolls, so I slide up. But then now from this position, instead of staying here, maybe I notice that he's starting to flatten out because he realizes, oh no, that shoulder's not liking there. And of course, I can pin him, especially if I get my grips. But if he starts dropping his shoulder back down, like most people will just kind of fold the knee back down and claim that space again. But when you do this, when he starts to drop, if I start to pull the sleeve towards me at the same time and I fold my foot underneath, you can kind of see here's the S. Okay, I'm trying to keep myself just like your arm lock, right along the shoulder line. This foot tucked in deep on the back here, really, really tight. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that I don't have too much control here as far as maintaining my balance or stopping him from moving, right? Because he has full mobility in his hips here. So if I'm not careful, guys can actually hip escape out and everything else, even though it's kind of awkward. Maybe not great, right? But like guys can shift. So you do want to be thinking about maintaining your weight through the center line. So my upper body, because naturally my hips are going to be heavy onto this side, right? My hips aren't there on this side. So my upper body is going to be a little bit heavier to the top side. And I'm just thinking about blocking his head, just trying, because he can't go this way, so I want to stop him going this way as well. Controlling the arms, hugging here, and always maintaining an attack. Okay, so just really quickly for reference. Again, I push, he rolls, I go to technical now, but as he's flattening, pull the arm in, and I cinch my position. Okay? Now, normally, again, we're always trying to stay on our toes on this back leg. Anytime you have a knee down, I've just cracked these toes too many times, I'm comfortable here. So it's up to you. And again, just trying to contain the guy and hovering over. But we're going to set this up for our technique a bit differently. It's a very strong offensive position, as I said. We're going to go for our cross choke, but standard cross choke. Open the lapel, palm up this time. So when we did it last week, we went palm down. So palm up, because the idea behind this is that as I start to threaten his neck, his hands have to come up. His hands come up to start blocking the cross choke, all I needed was to not have his elbows blocking me. I need to get underneath him. So again, dominant hand in, getting a deep grip on here, and I drop my elbow here heavy, curling my wrist already, so he respects the choke. If he has no reason to fear the grip, then he's not going to move his arms. So as soon as those elbows came up a little bit, I claimed that space by using my knee, like a snow shovel or again, like a wheel chalk, to claim that space. And then now I'm going to force, just like we're doing an arm lock, force the arm across, block it with your chest, your core, your stomach, however you want to think about it. Now, just like the technical mount, I can't leave this leg behind and lock my hip out. So this foot comes up to the armpit, I pivot, and then I pull the arm towards me to get the full S mount. Now, you could bail out on this grip at any point, but this is a great spot to choke someone from. Okay, like you see I'm right over top of my grip here, his arms are all tangled up. Sure, there's gonna be blockage as far as finding the grips, but like I can stay here all day and just start fighting him, mashing his face a little bit, try and find that grip, and then make my decision on whether I stay with the choke or if I start attacking the arms, because clearly I'm in a great spot to attack the arms. So again, open, deep grip. Now, remember the shoulder walking, that gi gets kind of tight, hands to the mat, shake him up a little bit, get a strong grip, and then again, just crush his sternum with your forearm, and not the point of the elbow, it's not the point. Tap. Okay? You like that too much. Okay? So again, the hands come up to defend the neck, slide your knee underneath, this foot comes up naturally, and then I pull the arm towards me and tuck. Now from here, just try and fight for your second grip. Okay? This is going to be a lot of interplay. I attack the neck already, I go for the arm. If he starts blocking the arm too much, I go back to the neck. So this hand should kind of stay in until you've really decided. So boom, get your grip in here. Now, this isn't a great place to finish the choke from, but all I would have to do is just refold this foot down and then bring my head to the mat to finish the choke. Right over top of his neck, really strong position. Might feel a little bit less on balance than if I were kind of right over the hips here, because I'm just spread out a little bit more. But again, heavy, he defends the neck. Slide up, tuck the foot in, grab this arm to pull that shoulder out of the way, and tuck deep. I don't want to be like this. I don't want this gap. I want my inside of my thigh, my hamstring touching his arm. Okay, and then again from here, I fight for my grip, always careful with my balance, and then just use your hands. Punch the mat here for balance. This foot just unfolds back, and I'm not going to fall forward. Okay? I'm sliding, I'm basically taking myself out of the S mount to finish the choke. But that was only decided when I realized I had my grips tight. Okay, option one from there. Same thing to start. Boom, he defends his neck, slide up, grab, tuck in. But now I start realizing, you know what, I'm gonna go for this arm. I need to get my gi out of the way here a bit. So I release, sorry, I was still holding here. I release, I pull his arm heavy up deep into my arm here, or into my chest, trying to contain him. And just like any normal armbar, I don't sit on the mat and try and kick my foot over the head, okay? Check for gas, okay? Heavy, heavy, heavy. Step over and sit. Now, you notice I'm constantly pulling this arm in. This is a great detail for any armbar that you're setting up when you're fighting for it. If I just go any here if you want, okay? Anytime I start to pull this arm in, first of all, he doesn't feel as in danger, so there's a little bit less resistance, and I bring this arm to me as a result of this arm. But he's not so concerned about me pulling this arm, because I'm not attacking him. Okay, where am I? Okay, so it's back to the spot. So this grip was in, right? I flip, grab, pull it up, and I was already doing this. Now, big thing here, as far as separation is concerned. This arm, so you see how he went to the rear naked choke grip? That would make the most sense. For him to go for that other grip we just had as an afterthought, sure. But right now, I'm pulling his arms in tight, so why wouldn't he go for this grip, right? It's the most solid thing he can go for, okay? So when I am pulling here, I'm gonna switch. My hand goes in between his forearm and his wrist here, sink through here, and then I hold on to this position. Now from here, when I step over and I sit back, I can release this lock here by basically trying to key lock this arm. I twist open, oh, sorry.
That's all right.
It's a little bit tight in the shoulders. Release the pressure here, and then now I could try and fight just like by pulling at the same time, but if you want to be a little bit more slick, this hand's going to release and catch his wrist here. Okay? Okay, just watch the hitchhiker escape. Catch it and finish with that position. So just again, you're like this when we sat, right? Pulling close, open, and then this hand just goes. But I don't release the elbow pressure. Elbow stays here. Catch the wrist, pull it away from his hand before you can grab it. But in general, just get that grip again. In general, just by releasing here, and if I just start to pull because he has no grip, I can always just fight for it. Just depends on in the heat of the moment what you have available to you. All right? Let's stick with that and we'll do our switcheroo knee after, okay? That's a technical term, switcheroo.
On the wall. Yeah, one second.
Taking a selfie.
All right. Witness the slickness. So, heavy he attacks. Defense. Okay, slide up. This is easy. Okay, this is what's important. So once you get to here, what I don't want him to do is get his elbow underneath and this to happen, right? Because again, my weight's not really over him right now. Okay, so again, as I'm sliding up, I could go here, which will force it. Well, if he was way open like this, I'll just go straight to the cross choke, right? But if his hands are up, kind of tangled, then again, I pull his hand towards me, and then I just kind of tuck myself in. A lot of you you're in S mount kind of, but you're facing his head, right? You need to be looking over the shoulder. Just think you're like 1/2 step away from the arm lock at all times, okay? So we're gonna go back to committing to the arm bar. So this hand here releases, grabs it in, and I wanna really kind of pull it towards the other side of the head here, right? So it's tucked, it's locked in. You can't drop his elbow on it. Same thing, this is why this grip is also nice. When I go through here, and I had that way of kind of opening him up, but also if I start feeling like he's being really heavy on this arm here, like he's trying to drive this arm elbow to the mat, right? Like he's turning, so I'm like, man, like even though I feel good here, he may pop that elbow down really quickly, right? Let's try and free his arm. With this grip though, he's blocking this arm. This hand, completely free. Now, you could also try and be on this side, but also try and straight arm lock him here too quickly. But most likely he's gonna be holding pretty tight, right? He's waiting for that. When if I step over, he catches my leg and he has an easier escape, okay? But from here, I'm leaning over top here. Now all I'm going to do is put this knee on the floor over here, and I just have to pivot. So I just go here, boom, and then I just completely, same position, S-mount again, but now I'm facing the other way, and his arms are tangled up in the wrong way to block. So I get a free arm. So again, and this could be as simple, guys, as just doing like a bread cutter here, right, or a paper cutter jump. Just grab on, pressure his neck, slide up, boom, my hands are really tied up, but I need to be under his wrist, so I have this arm tangled. So again, I can be all the way, I can be in position and then just decide on twisting. Just hip up right from there, but obviously, most likely you're weak here. Okay? So just really quickly, slowly. So we're here. I'm just gonna undo my position. I'm reversing. This knee comes up, heads towards his hip, and this knee goes down. Okay, but I want to keep my butt low the whole time. So it kind of helps to stay tethered here. We're here and here. Pull this arm towards you, right? I get him convinced that I need both the arm lock. Where I don't want to do it from his back here, right? Like if I were like kind of halfway to sitting, this is an awkward transition. The more I am over here, the easier it is to transition. And then I reshift my weight back over. Here, hold this arm, pivot, boom, step over his head, arm lock on the far side. Okay. It's kind of like a checkmate position once you get that grip. There's not a lot you can do because you can always switch on. If you start setting up any realistic defense, trying to bury that elbow down and make it a scary transition, that means the other shoulder's coming out too. So you flip. Okay? Let's give him a quick try. We want to leave him that little happy face, okay? That little smile. Okay, so if I don't keep my butt down, I can't wipe my butt and make a little shitty smile there, right? So good. So through, boom. So I can't be going like this. Okay, he's just gonna untuck his arms. So from here, I have to wipe my butt. Okay, and that way it's easier to move because he's carrying the weight as well. And I'm stepping over his head before I sit down. Now, the way that you want to do that, remember I told you to shift your weight forward a bit? Because if I were back here with my head this way, like for me to like it's just nearly impossible to transition. Okay? So I have to shift my weight forward. Sorry, wrist here. Yeah, boom. Under the wrist, pull it towards you. And see, I lean forward. But when I turn, think of an off-balance top. Okay, this way. When I go through, if I turn and my head stays here, then I create separation, right? I'm falling off of his body. So as my butt goes that way, that's the bottom of the top of it has to go the other way. So I transition here. So my head goes forward this way. And then I can step over easily. Okay? Just trying to add those details. I know I try and use these, maybe it's just a kids class, but they really seem to pick up on these details if you make it silly or funny. It just kind of sticks in their head. So same thing, we're for adults too, I hope. Otherwise, I'm just giving it. Give it a try. Is that, even though this is the gentle art, right? Like even though this is like, basically it's not punching or kicking. We understand that they can happen, right? We went through self-defense, we understand it. If you have positional dominance on someone, you can hit them. And you can hit them far harder than they can ever hit you. So we always understand that. But the same thing here, I hear a lot of, oh, sorry, oh, sorry, oh, sorry. It's sorry, not sorry, okay? If you're here on top, I want to be heavy, right? Like I'm never in mount, like trying to make myself light unless it's to bait him into something, right? So when you're doing this, like, it's fine to be, try and be smooth. That's gentle. You don't want to be, kneeing your partner in the head all the time and, like being choppy movement, smooth, but I'm not carrying myself. I want to be crushing him. I want to make this nasty, right? The more uncomfortable he is, the more likely he's going to be to tap, the less fight he has with him. So when you're on top here, like I'm putting my weight not over his chest where like there's not a whole lot to kind of crush here, but the floating ribs or the diaphragm, like when I'm leaning, like I'm trying to, like I almost want to pull his shoulders off the mat and put my weight onto his ribs, right? I want him uncomfortable. I want him to be like, just go over the armbar, goddamn, right? So don't be apologetic about being heavy and about being, crushing on top. Like you don't have to be on purpose, grinding your elbows and everything else like that. It just depends on, if your partner needs you in the head, then he gets a little bit of a face smash later, right? We got to keep the scales balanced, but don't be sorry for being heavy, okay? That's what we want, okay?